As we record these on Monday night, very late on Monday night, we had a late addition to our card coming up this Saturday, headlined by Derek Lewis and Alexei Oleinik. And I'm sure as the week goes on, we're going to get a little bit more in terms of knowledge and info in this fight. But we've got Kevin Holland, who was supposed to take on Trevin Giles this past weekend, UFC Vegas 5. Unfortunately, Giles, he passed out just about to make the walk to the fight. There might be some cardio issues. He's looking into them. We wish nothing but the best for Trevin Giles. Kevin Holland wanted to fight. He still wanted to fight. He wanted to fight Ed Herman. Ed Herman hopped on a plane like you would when Ed Herman's fight fell out with Gerald Mearshart, and everybody was mad at Ed Herman. Don't you dare be mad at Ed Herman. We won't stand for that. He's a nice guy. But I digress. This fight should be great. We have Joaquin Buckley, who competed last weekend at LFA 87, avenged one of his few losses to a guy that he had taken on about, 4 years ago in Jackie Gosh. And his other loss on his record, and this is a guy in Joaquin Buckley that spent some time with Bellator, 3-2 record, lost to Gosh by knockout, comes back, knocks him out in the second round last weekend, and he lost to Logan Storley. That's going to happen. If you're not a Logan Storley guy, he's quite good, boring fights, bread and butter wrestler. Joaquin Buckley, I mean, listen, after he lost to Storley, took about a year off, beat Chris Harris, LFA 76, and then again had this win here. Now, he's typically spent the majority of his career at 70. In his last two fights, he's fought at middleweight. In this one, it's going to be at middleweight. And for Kevin Holland, you kind of know what you're going to get. Good on the feet, one of the longest fighters you're going to find at middleweight. Really good submission abilities. He can switch things up when it's standing. And again, if you look back at last weekend, we had him to beat Trevin Giles. It's a tall task for anybody to come in and fight a guy like Kevin Holland. And I know it's almost like Buckley coming in to fight Holland was like Holland coming in to fight Thiago Santos. That's kind of what I'd liken it to. So it should be an interesting one. You look at Joaquin Buckley, people are going to get excited because he's absolutely bodied up. I think last weekend they said his shoulders look like bowling balls, and they kind of do. And he fights from southpaw, which should give him a bit of an advantage in this one. It's just a tough one against a guy like Kevin Holland.
Kevin Holland must be the most frustrating guy to fight because the way that he fights, he doesn't take a lot of damage. Just defensively, he is quite sound. He's got kind of the Bobby Green effect. Now, I know Bobby Green looked really good last weekend, but for the most part, Bobby Green will miss a lot of shots, but when one does land, it can kind of put him down. That's sort of the Kevin Holland effect. But Kevin Holland's got a wicked chin. I know I brought this up in our videos last week. Thiago Santos landed about 400 punches that were all ground and pound square to Kevin Holland's head, and that would kill a regular person like you or myself. But Kevin Holland was just like fine with it. He was cool with the whole thing. And the way that Kevin Holland fights, when he is really on, he's got kind of deceiving power for a real tall, thin guy like himself. And like you would mention, on the ground, he is no slouch whatsoever. And I hate to make the comparison because it's very obvious, but he fights very similar to Neil Magny. It's just Neil Magny's work rate is a lot higher, and he can sustain that throughout 3 and/or 5 rounds, depending on what he's doing. But with Kevin Holland, he has that really nice jab, and he can switch stances pretty well. He throws a really nice left uppercut, too. It's kind of this weird, like, step-in thing that he does. And he's just, like I said, a frustrating guy to fight because at the end of his reach, no one can ever really hit him at middleweight. And then if you ever do try to close the distance, he's got pretty good footwork that he can just always circle out no matter what. So Kevin Holland, a lot of his fights do end up going to decision because it's just him kind of piecing the guy up with a jab and moving, piecing them up with a jab and moving. And I feel like this is just going to be more of the same from him.
Now, I'm going to pepper in a little bit of a piece here, and you can use this for us or against us as the week goes on. Maybe this is the thing that gets clipped on Hot Takes Exposed or Old Takes Exposed. Joaquin Buckley, if you're going to pick him, here's the two things that he could really pick up on. Listen, he's down about 5 inches in height, and he's down about 8 inches in reach. But what could work in his favor, and we didn't see this, so when Rocco Martin fought Neil Magny in the smaller cage, Rocco tried to push a pace, and it worked to a point, but Neil Magny really worked it out, and he's way bigger than Rocco Martin in terms of length. In this fight, it's similar, but it's weird because it's a smaller cage, and we're talking middleweight. So if Joaquin Buckley can close the distance, lands that nice left hand that he can, he could really go in there and starch him. And this could be one of those fights like Justin James, Frank Camacho, like some of these short notice guys have been able to have. Plus, you have the fact that he fought just last weekend and picked up a second-round knockout win. So he's fresh. And if you go back and watch that fight, listen, the guy who was fighting in Jackie Gosh, we're talking about, he's looking to avenge a loss. But Gosh is like 37 years old in that fight. It wasn't really the same fight that he had years past. So a good win for Buckley. He's riding high because he avenged a loss. And now he's coming into this one. there's definitely an opportunity for him. I know the odds are going to be heavily against them. We don't have them out yet. I would think somewhere between a 2-1 to 3-1, maybe 250, land at the middle. If you look over on Tapology, limited sample size because this fight was just announced tonight, but 91% going with Kevin Holland, 41% saying he's going to win by knockout, 38 saying by decision. I think he's going to be able to get it done. I think it's going to be one of those grinding type of fights. Kevin Holland ends up winning a decision. We wake up in the morning and go, hey, let's rebook that fight against Trevin Giles. What do you make?
Oh, yeah. Again, I couldn't agree more. It's not often I do this many times for a fight card, but no, I think you set it up quite well.
Both going with Kevin Holland in this one. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for the card. We've got 12 fights here, including an extended look at our main event between Derek Lewis and the boa constrictor, Alexei Oleinik. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.